So good evening, everybody. This is welcome to Free to Heal. And I'm Noreen McClendon, your facilitator, and I want to welcome everybody out there. We come together every week so that we can, with formerly incarcerated federal, state people who serve time, loved ones, and children, anybody that's been directly affected by mass incarceration. And we come here try to heal the ravages, heal the wounds that were left in all of us from mass incarceration. And I see a hand up. Did you intend to have a hand up, Rufus?
Yeah, I got a new guy just came. He just got out Wednesday and he want to just say hi to you and everybody else.
Come on.
How you doing? My name is Chester.
Hi, Chester.
I'm glad to be out. And he introduced me to this class. I was just thinking about it, so I just wanted to say hi.
Wonderful. Well, and Chester, if I take it, are you going to stay for a while? Because if so, I'll just make sure that I put you on attendance.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay right now.
Okay, what's your last name, Chester?
Oh, Hill, Hill.
Okay, Chester Hill, how long you been home?
Since Wednesday.
Wednesday. So, and how long were you gone? How long were you away, Chester?
Say that again.
How long were you away?
Was I gone?
How long were you in prison?
Oh, 28.
Ooh, yeah.
For 28 years.
Yeah, so Felix was in prison for 20 and you were 28. And so we've got folks have done a lot of time here. It always amazes me the amount of time, the amount of years that have been spent in the system. And so I just want to say welcome home. One of the things I always like to do when we have people who come home is to advise you to be patient with yourself and patient with the process. Nothing is going to go exactly according to plan. The system is not really designed for you to succeed. Unfortunately, I can't even act like it is. Okay. So
there's a lot.
It's important for you to be patient with yourself. And the good thing is you guys have been blessed to land at the Francisco Homes. And the reason I say that is the Francisco Homes doesn't operate like prison light. A lot of the other halfway houses, they have contracts with the Department of Corrections, and they still operate like a prison system. There's still a lot of, you can't move around as you want or whatever. And what I just don't like is that when you come home, you need to have the ability to start to reintegrate. You need to start making your own decisions, figuring out what you like, all of those kinds of things. And in a lot of instances, a lot of the homes, they operate on a schedule. They keep you on their schedule. You can't do this or do that until they tell you to. They tell you when to go, when to come. And it really operates very much like the prison system. So then when that's over, then you still got to turn around and figure out how to reintegrate into society. And so it's a difficult thing. We've been joined by Mr. Hall. Glad to have you with us. But tonight I wanted to talk about something that was in Formula for Success. And that is the section on coping. Now, I just talked about the challenges that indicated there are going to be challenges and that the system is not really designed for you for it to be easy for you. You're going to have to want this. You're going to have to want it to be successful, and how you cope with the challenges that you face are going to determine how easy or hard it is for you. I think it might have been Rufus one time you were talking about the fact that you don't look at things as hard necessarily because you were expecting that things were not going to be easy when you came home. And that is one of the things that happened. So we talked last week, I think it was, about progressions and setbacks. There are going to be things you move ahead and you get out ahead of it and things are going well. And then there are going to be setbacks. There are going to be things that it seems like you're moving forward and actually you taking steps backward, or you get knocked down, or you get disappointed, or things don't go the way that you would like for them to go. And the question is for you all at this point is, what do you do when those things happen? What is it that you turn to keep you motivated, to keep moving forward, despite the fact that these things are not going the way that you want them to go? Okay. And so I want to open it up for anybody, the people here, as well as on Zoom, to start talking to me about those things that you do. And guess who wants to go first? Go.
I was in the Francisco Homes for 5 years. I was lucky because of my age. I got SSI, so I didn't have to work. Couldn't work if I wanted to. But the biggest thing I seen, and all the time I was in the Francisco Homes, you got guys that get out and they want a handout. Those guys don't go nowhere. You got guys that get out, want to hustle, want to work, want to get everything they need, their birth certificate, driver's license, everything. But they want to work. If you come out and think, well, I'm going to sit on my ass for 2 or 3 months because I've been inside so long, you're sadly mistaken. You're going to be so far behind by the time you decide that you need to get off your ass, it's too late. But I've seen guys that held down 2 jobs. I've seen guys that get college education. I see people who really work hard to make it. And I hope when you come out, that's the way you are. I hope you're not the one that wants to sit on the couch and watch the TV and maybe somebody give me some food stamps or you know, a little free money on the side. Those guys don't make it.
You know, it's important what he said in this regard, because that's not even just true for people coming home from incarceration. That's true, period. One of my girlfriends used to say all the time, there's no such thing as a free ride in a fancy car. If you're going to have a fancy car, you're going to have to pay for that car. There's an old saying in the 70s, cash, grass, or ass, nobody rides for free. Okay, so there is no such thing as a free ride in this world. And at some point, it's going to cost you. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to pay something. You're going to have to invest something of yourself in order for you to get a reward. There is none of us are entitled to anything. Nobody owes us anything. The one thing you will find out at Freed to Heal is we're real big about taking personal responsibility for our own actions and our own behavior. That's the one thing, you know, I always say here when it comes up. Now, the one thing we're not going to do here, one with another, we're not going to lie to each other. Okay, we're not going to do that. Why? Because I can't help you. You can't help me if I'm lying to you and I'm not willing to admit my own issues and those things that are hindering me or holding me back. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to help anybody else. So we got to take personal responsibility for those things now. I'm going to read some of the things that our author, Mr. Tillman, wrote. During life, and especially in the re-entry transition and process, the ability to cope with dilemmas and stressful situations is extremely relevant. It could be the death of a family member, friend, or loved one. And in addition to your family, childbirth, in-laws, new or loss of employment, accident, depression, illness, or financial burdens. All of these things are going to happen in as much as you're no longer incarcerated. They happen while you were incarcerated. For example, people lost people, particularly those of you guys who spent a lot of time incarcerated. You lost people. People died while you were away. accidents happen. There are, again, these are progressions. You might consider a birth of someone as a progression, and then the loss of someone as a setback. Okay, you may wind up, both of those things may happen, but how do you deal with each one of those? That's the most important thing, is how we deal with things. How do we move forward in the face of these circumstances? A lot of us, one of the challenges that I've learned through the years that people face is how to reintegrate into their families and how to reunify with family members. And Felix, you and I talked about it just briefly, how you know, some people expect you to be nothing like the person that went in. Some people want you to be exactly like that. There are lots of expectations on people when they come out of prison that are not necessarily realistic. And Terrell always says, don't let their expectations dictate what you're doing, right? We have to make sure that you need to be focusing on what's going to work for you, because one thing is for sure, no two people are exactly the same. No two people's experience is going to follow the exact same pattern. So what you got to realize is all an inside job. It's all what's going on with you and what are you going to do? I am a big believer, because I have also had the pleasure of teaching inside the institutions. And I'm a big believer that reentry should start the day that you get sentenced. People should begin to prepare for reentry, even if you have indeterminate sentences. Particularly in today's climate, where a lot of those indeterminate sentences were being, they were letting people out, letting out lifers, where for years and years that wasn't the case. But in as much as they start letting lifers out, I say people should begin preparing for reentry the day that they get sentenced.
For almost 25 years, they were letting like 4 or 5 people out a year, and half of them was ex-cops. I went to a board hearing. I come back and went into a room waiting to go back into the main line. This guy comes out of the board. He's got his denial. Don't even have his name on it. It's got somebody else's name. That's how they didn't care.
It was systemic.
It was just, they're getting paid to sit down in them chairs. And I don't know how many people who've been inside seen them bring up that card and read off the reasons why you were not suitable. I mean, it took judges. It took all kind of shit. I tell you how stupid I am. I go into a board. I'm convinced this 3-judge panel that we all heard about was going to set me free. So when it came my turn to talk, I told them, I don't need you fucking people. And they said, okay, your hearing's over. I had to come back 3 years later and say, I'm sorry. And the board member said, yep, you should be. But people now, right now, getting out a lot faster than we were.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that this is why, again, people should be preparing as soon as you get incarcerated. Terrell, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what you were saying. Like you said, the judicial system, people should start practicing the reentry aspect when they go in. To a certain degree, yes, the institutions need to have some type of implementation of reentering society. Though you may not reciprocate all of it, because when you're going into prison and you got 10, 20 years, you now have to actually get yourself acclimated to prison life.
To do time.
And you don't even know if you're gonna go home. But to actually have those components being taught, it will help you get through prison, and it would change the culture in prison, so to speak, as far as the mentality. You know what I mean? So even if I got 10, 20 years to do, I'm still preparing myself for when I go home, and those components I can still use while I'm in prison. I can actually start practicing those components that they're teaching. And that's one thing that they don't teach. They don't even care, actually. You know, they do the reentry classes. You sign up, you sit in the room and shoot the shit, and then the next day you do the same shit, and it's the institution getting paid for it. And the CEO that's running the reentry program said, "Man, I don't know shit about this. I'm just here to get the money, to get paid, do my hours, and y'all just kick back." But there should be something implemented to where it's, you know, reentry educational, to where, you know, people can start getting it. And that's one of the things that I'm actually doing myself, is trying to get into these prisons, trying to put my books in these prisons so that the information can get utilized and those seeds can get planted in people's head, and people can start learning ways to cope with coming home, but they also can use those components that's in my book to do their bit. You know what I mean? You know, and better themselves. Because if you bettering yourself and you helping people around you better themselves, the community gets stronger, the mindset changes, the thought process changes. You know, you can, some of the violence and the miscommunication gets nipped in the butt. So I definitely agree with that. There definitely needs to be a level of education for reentry when people go in, and I think it would probably be suitable for different phases and different age ranges, because when some people come to jail, they don't even give a fuck. They ain't caring about, you know, I ain't never going home. I don't care. I'm finna turn up. I'm gonna stab them. So it's the mentality of some of the people, you know what I'm saying? And I would say the people that are really geared for that are people that really want to change for the better. You know what I mean? So, because there's a lot of them hard heads, they in there trying to get their stripes. They don't care about the streets or going home or none of that. So, but it definitely needs to be implemented, and it gives people the head start and heads up on what they're gonna endure and come across when they come home.
And you know, I think it's really important what you said too about it will help. What the institutions don't realize is it would help with the whole culture inside the institution. It would change it from just kind of like gladiator, whatever, to maybe a different posture. But you know, one of the things we also know is that in a lot of instances, the system is working exactly the way it was designed to work.
And the thing about it is this. The thing about it is this too.
I see your hand, Lionel.
The thing about it is this. Like you said, it would change the culture, and also it would be helpful for the staff. You know what I'm saying? You know, because changing that culture, it'll help a lot of people do things better. And it's there because that's why they got all these programs. If you take it, you go home now. You know what I'm saying? So it's there. It's just they're not looking ahead. They're just looking for just certain skill sets. They don't have all the components that are in my book, but then they might have them in different classes.
Right.
But that's why they're doing that now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's from a clinical perspective as well. It's kind of mixed in. The curriculum that you have in a lot of jails, if it's not you, Noreen, or me, or somebody that has lived experience going in there, it's some clinicianal bullshit, straight up, you know, watered down, you know, to try to get you to comply with the system and to be a snitch and all of that. No, you know, we're not advocating for any of that. We're advocating for you to be a better person and to live a more trauma-free life and violence-free life. And
That's
we know
very well said, Terrell. Trauma-free. We want you to be trauma-free up in this piece, because I'm telling you, the trauma is everywhere. It's associated. James, you wanted to say something, then I'm gonna come to you. Lionel, I wanted you to know I saw your hand. Okay. Okay, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
It basically, prison was designed to be a whole of nothing. You know what I mean? Because it's the German Shepherd syndrome. The light on, light off. It's a training procedure that they utilize to try to get you to conform a certain way. Because even all the police, they say, you know, I wish you was, and I wish this was like this. It's all psychological. They don't care nothing about you. They trying to go home to their family just like the next man. So they gonna get along to get along. some of them gonna start to crap to keep going because they get more money on hazard pay.
Right.
So you have different mentalities of going against a system that's designed for you to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because the programs that you actually go to, unless you have an out date, you can't go. There's a lot of programs that I want to be in, but I couldn't because I didn't have that actual out date. You get that actual out date. When you get found suitable, you still don't know when you're going home in 150 days. It could be 150. Mine's 157 days.
Wow.
It's supposed to be just 150 days. And then they turn around and they say, well, we'll take that off your parole. What difference is that? I'm supposed to be at home a week earlier.
Right.
But if I'd have got in the pre-release program, that's what they used to be called, then I would have kind of been prepared for society.
Mm-hmm.
But not going to, like you said, not going to pre-release programs, which they don't let you get in unless you got a date, they don't work because when your time is up, they tell you you're going home in the next 2 or 3 days.
Well, and it, you know, it's one of the things that I noticed too is teaching in CIW was that the programs where the inmate might actually learn some skills that could serve them, if they didn't have really long term, they couldn't get into programs. Like the puppy program I'm thinking about in particular, right? If you didn't have everybody that I knew that was in that puppy program learning how to train those service animals, they had at least 10 years left on their sentences.
Yeah, that's
but that's because they're training them and they teach them how to train the puppies, and the puppies get sold and they make money for the institution. It's not about the person getting a skill. In other words, it probably would be good if they taught somebody that had 3 or 4 years, put them in that program and gave them a skill that they could use when they get out, but it's not for their benefit. It's not for the individual's benefit, it's for the system's benefit. And they don't realize that, again, it could help the actual institution because a lot of those short-termers, they got bad attitudes and all that kind of stuff. If you give them something productive to do, it may help the institution and help the staff at the same time. But I noticed in CIW, you had to be long-term. I never saw anybody that had under 10 years that was in that program.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that you can literally learn that skill and come out. I mean, they was selling them dogs $750 a piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and if you could train them, certainly that's something, a skill that you can use on the outside. So I would just encourage the institutions to kind of change that. And it's crazy to me to think that you couldn't, as a person who didn't have a date, you weren't eligible for programming that was actually useful to you.
Yeah.
And to help you become a better person. Because that, again, to me, would actually help the institution. But Lionel, there was something that you wanted to say. You had raised your hand earlier.
Oh, yeah, something I want to share. From my 33 years experience in incarceration, first I'm going to say, by me having that life sentence, a 30-year life sentence, I thought I was never coming home. So therefore, I didn't give a damn about no group. But like Brother Terrell said, once I started doing groups, they helped me to deal with prison life. They helped me to deal with myself, to see myself, to see all the anger, the issues I had. Now, the other thing is, it was the prisoners, the inmates making these groups. It wasn't the penitentiary, the prison. The prison didn't give a damn about us. It was the inmates came up with these groups and wanted to really rehabilitate themselves, become a better person. That's all I do through the whole thing is inmates starting groups in prison. And they're getting at the police, and the police, you got some police say, yeah, okay, I want to help y'all with this. They might have got some benefit or whatever. But I also ran across COs saying, I don't give a damn about y'all rehabilitating yourself because y'all pay my bills by being incarcerated. They didn't want us to get out of prison, you know? And so therefore you had some good ones, you had some bad ones. You had some ones agree, they were no different than us. Just because they had them jobs there, that didn't make them no different because they did criminal activity in prison to us. You know, it was one time when the COVID first happened at Solitary Prison, we were the only prison in California that didn't have COVID until they came there 3 o'clock in the morning. It took nothing but black guys and took them into the kitchen where we eat at and had them cuffed up the police start coughing on them, talking about F Black Lives. That's when Solidarity Prison broke out with the COVID. But they soon, it's a big research, it's a big lawsuit on that still today, where people were protesting that. This how foul you got a lot of COs all in prison. So, like for me, once I started doing these groups, I didn't have a date yet, but I started doing the groups for me. I wasn't doing the group for the board no more because I seen it helped me so much. It took all that negativity, all that revenge I had because I was working on myself. And a lot of dudes in prison, they starting to work on themselves because they talk to their family, their family come for advice because they're rebuilding themselves. Because while you're in the penitentiary, you think, well, we're wrong. You think, how can life be better and stuff like that? For me personally, and I seen other dudes doing the same thing. And like I said, then once I got to date, it's like, man, this shit really helped me. All these self-help groups really helped me because I didn't know what trauma was. I didn't know what stress was. I thought that was weakness. They tell you, if you stress out, you gotta go see a psych. You weak as a Black man. You was weak, and so I laid myself to believe this false belief. But once I started doing these groups, I said, I ain't gotta prove myself to nobody but better myself and be there for my family while I was in prison. You know, to do the best I can. So, you know, it's like I say, a lot of prison guards don't want them getting out of prison because we pay their bill by being in prison. If all the inmates would got out of prison, they wouldn't have a job. They couldn't pay their bills. And so
But this is the thing, though. This is the thing that's so amazing to me about that. That's what they think. But there's always going to be somebody breaking the law. It's always that's never going to change.
It's always going to be. That's what America was built on, violence. So that's going to always happen. You know what I'm saying? So to say everybody going to be peaceful and all that, but just so happen if that was to happen, if it was a crime was to stop on the street, all these police would lose their job. See, people got to look at the bigger picture. Some people don't want crime to stop because it pays their bills.
Well, it was, I think we talked about it. I think it came up last week. I think it might have been where I was saying to everybody that the system is working exactly the way it was designed to work for who it was designed to work for. It's not machine. Huh?
It's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah,
there you go. That's what it is.
It is. It's not broken. The system is not broken. It's working for who it was intended to work for. It created a pipeline for free labor. So right now, for example, in Houston Independent School District, the Houston Independent School District has decided that they are disbanding all of the libraries, in all of the schools in the Houston School District. And they're turning them into discipline centers where the kids will come in and they will learn remotely or in groups. Who's going to be manning that? And so you telling me that kids are now responsible for teaching themselves and you're getting rid of the libraries and the books? And why are you not doing it in the whole state of Texas? Why only in Houston? Right? So what it is that they're setting them up for the school to prison pipeline. Because you already know it's going to be them poor minority kids is going to be the ones going into the discipline center. We got statistics all over the country that show you that, and Cheryl has talked about it multiple times, how if a kid doesn't know how to read by the third grade, they start counting prison beds for them. Because they know that if you can't read by the time you're 8 years old, that the likelihood that you're going to learn to read is not good. And then also the likelihood that you're going to go to prison increases dramatically. A lot of people wind up in prison because they're not educated, and it produces a whole series of things. And so if you're able to count prison beds by people who can't read, if I take out libraries and I just put in discipline centers, then all I'm doing is preparing them to go into the penitentiary. And don't think that it's going to stop in Houston.
You're essentially speeding up the progress.
Huh?
They're essentially speeding up the progress of.
And that's because too many things, there's like this, what I like to call it a death rattle that they hear of this white supremacy that they built this country on. And because it's dying, they're just becoming more overt at the way that they're doing things and the way that they're trying to suppress things, making some people think that it's, in other words, they're making poor white people think that it's minorities and immigrants and all of that that are the reason that they don't have anything. And it's never been that. We've never amassed enough power to actually affect the lives of other people. But this is how they get other people to vote against their best interest for those things. So it is a terrible thing, but this is what they're doing. Because again, in Houston, why is it only in the Houston school district?
Maybe they
In
need
Texas.
a bigger prison population.
Well, they want a bigger prison population, and that's why they're doing it. They're setting them up so that they can't be educated. Remember this, in slavery, it was against the law to teach a slave to read. The slave wasn't about color, it was about economics. It was about them being able to be used for free labor. And I tell you all the time, the only reason you got out of the penitentiary is you was too old to plumb anymore for them. You was too old, because you tell them how many prisons you went to and started plumbing as they opened. When you went in, how many prisons were there?
When I went in, there was 8, and when I left, there was 36.
And how many of them did you go into, did they move you to do plumbing?
About 6 of them.
Okay, so the reality is that he wasn't found suitable until he,
Yeah,
according to him, how did you go in the wheelchair? What did you do?
And I got a date.
And look, and when he went in there and acted in the wheelchair, acting like this, he got a date that day. Okay, because he was no longer useful for them to use him for free labor.
I was starting to cost them money because of my medical. But, you know, what I wanted to say when I raised my hand, there's two things. It's like AA is a good program out here.
Mm-hmm.
Inside, AA is I hate to say it, it's the worst program, because 90% of the people who go to AA are forced into AA by the board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so they go in there and they sit down, and some of them get up and give you a line of bullshit like you never seen, having no intentions of using the program like it's supposed to be. I mean, I've seen guys go in there and they'll get up and speak and how AA is the best thing since the hot dog. You see them on the yard the next day.
High as a kite.
They're higher than a kite.
Listen, you know what it is? They use it, you know, something Lionel talked about, which was how the groups began to help you, right? They helped you to cope with what was going on inside of that institution. And that's what this is all about. That's what this is all about, is talking about how do we cope with those things? What are the tools that we should be using to cope? One of the things is to understand that there are issues. One thing is to understand that that there are things that you're going to have progressions and you're going to have setbacks. Okay, that's important. Diane said, in case you couldn't hear, don't take anything personal. It's not against you individually. It is a system. It's going to feel very personal when you put in hours to go stand in line at the DMV and you get to the line and there's a big old story about why you can't get your ID. It's going to feel personal, but it's not about you.
Or why they can't help you.
Right. Yeah.
They're not allowed to write one thing on that piece of paper that you bring.
They can't write on it.
Nope,
They're
called falsifying.
they can't, right, they cannot, hell, they can't even sign your name for you.
That's fraud.
I'm illiterate. I have to take somebody. When I go to get my driver's license, I have to set up what usually takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months to get an oral test where somebody reads the questions. They don't help me. They just read the questions and I answer them. But if they didn't have that, I couldn't have a driver's license. And most of that is because you have immigrants from different countries, and they can't speak the language. They have to make groups for them. But I'm just saying that, like I said before, if you want to do good, you can, and if you don't, fuck you.
Oh, Lord.
What?
How we get there? Can somebody tell me how we got there? I thought everything was going good.
Man, he threw the,
Ain't you responsible for him today? Ain't you babysitting him today? What's
Man,
going on with you? You slowing down on the job, Lionel? Because
he threw that hook in there so fast, huh? That was faster than the Sugar Ray Leonard hook. He just
what happened, Terrell?
He speak his mind. He speak his mind.
that was faster than the Sugar Ray Leonard hook. He just put your like cut off an on like an ice with it and fuck him. Wait a minute. He was just talking about something that was, helpful.
But listen, I want to, because I want you guys to talk to me about things that you do to help you to cope. What are some of the things that you guys do that help you to cope with the situations? Because we got two new people. Miss Ward, can you hear me? Cheryl, she just went off. Daggone it. We got two new people, but I want you guys to talk about the things that you've done since you've been home that help you to cope with the challenges of your re-entry. Whew, that was a bug.
Yep.
Talk to me. Somebody talk to me. I know. Listen, I ain't never been incarcerated other than 12 hours, so I know y'all know better than me.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Right.
I can't hear you.
Okay, my name is Chester, right?
Right.
And the question you just said, well, with me, I was gone 28 years because of a mistake I made, right? And I know the system is messed up, but at the same time, I hate to say it, but I needed it because if I didn't get that type of punishment, I wouldn't have never changed.
Mm-hmm.
So today, how I handle my situations, I take time to think. I learn patience. I think about the consequences of my actions. So when I take time to think, I have a better response in how I deal with my situations. That works for me. I can't speak for nobody else, but that's how it works for me. A lot of patience. And I always remember where I come from. So like I say, that just works for me.
Well, you know what? That's good, but I want to, with all due respect, sweetie, you came home Wednesday. You came home Wednesday, and I want the people that been here for a minute to say to you, to give you some of the things that they've had to do, because listen, and that is not to minimize what you said, because what you said is very important and it's relevant, but because it can be, again, there ebbs and flows, it's peaks and valleys in it. And my goal with asking the question of the group was for people to give you guys things that they have done that may not be just what you already know to do, but because they've had to face these things, having been out a lot longer, what are those things that they've had to do and what do they use to cope when it gets really tough? And so, so I want those you guys that have been home for a minute, I want y'all to chime in for me. What are the things that you do to cope when things are not going your way in the re-entry process?
Like me, like what Chester said, I think about the consequences. Like when I was going to DMV and all the madness they give you there, it's like I put myself in another world as far as looking at them as characters, not in a negative way, but something they might be going through to have them so angry. And I put myself like, what I was once like that. I was once an angry individual because I didn't have these coping skills. Now I got these coping skills. I look at it and I laugh to myself. And I use them as like characters in my thoughts of what might be going on in their head, what problems they might be going through, and the things they might be facing, they might go through that I went through in life. And so that helped me get that peace of mind. And also I'm using that positive thought and that positive thinking. I also go back, like Chester said, I go back to the prison, like, man, I'd rather be here in DMV dealing with this shit than being in the
Wow.
penitentiary, going through all this madness, can't do this and can't do it. Now I'm out free. I'm here in DMV free. To leave when I want to leave. Nobody telling me what to do. And so I'll put myself in that positive thought or mood because my freedom is all but positive. No matter what other people going through or what they might say to me, I'm free. I'm happy. I'm not
You
going
know
to
what
let
I've
them take
heard?
that
You know what I've
from
heard,
me.
Lionel? I've heard somebody say, my best day, my worst day out here is better than my worst day inside.
That is so true. That
Right.
is so true. That is so true right there. And you can't beat that. You know,
Yeah.
no matter what's going on out here, you're free.
Yes, and it is true that you know what I heard in my head when you were talking was you got free man problems. Right?
Well, yeah,
Like
yeah,
in the
yeah,
DMV,
yeah.
you got free man problems,
And
right?
that's the best problem. That's the best problem to have because I'm free to
They're
like,
the one,
okay,
they're the
yeah,
ones you want to have.
there you go.
Even as bad as it
Exactly.
might be to try to pick out which toothpaste to pick or which milk to get off the shelf or all of those things is better than trying to figure it out on the inside.
There
Yes,
you
Terrell,
go.
you wanted to say something. Terrell.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Nah.
No, not Noreen.
Yes.
Just as a peak of interest in something that I'd love to do. I want to hear from Felix because he just got out. I want to hear his mindset of where he's at coming out of prison. I was hoping that you didn't do what you did, but you did it. But it's okay. I want to hear their mindsets coming out, fresh out the gate. He just got out Wednesday. He just got out Saturday. I want to see where their mindsets are at. And then I don't want anybody else to say anything. So I want it fresh off of their cup. You know what I'm saying? I want them to give me their perspective because they fresh out. We've been talking to these other gentlemen and every week. I want to see what's on these two minds out the gate so we can see where their heads are. You know, this is the support and mentor group. We need to see where they at coming out fresh because they the ones that need the most help. They fresh out the gate. So we need to see what their mindsets is, and then we can come behind them and then give them more because they only been out 3 days and a few days. You feel what I'm saying? So I want to hear where they're at with it because it's more intriguing because I want to see.
So Felix, I want you to unmute and you are being requested, sir, to speak about
Yes.
what he will use to cope with the challenges that you see coming your way.
Because he only been out a few days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been out since Friday, so it's been challenging. Fortunately, I have my two sisters that have been supportive, and over the weekend they took me around. That's the blessing about Francisco Homes is that we have freedom. We're not leaving prison to come and be locked down and do more time and be told what to do. Yesterday and today were challenging without them around. Just going and to simple programs, to the DPSS, to unemployment agency. I got lost in downtown and I panicked. You know, like first thing I did was call my sisters, you know, and that's the one important thing is having a support network. And if I didn't have them and the people that don't have them, I don't understand how, you know, I feel for them, you know. The guys here in the home have been real supportive. You know, I was worried about coming in.
That's what's up.
I was in East LA all my life, and being out here in downtown, you know, it's a whole different environment. And just driving by the old house over the weekend it was heartbreaking, you know, because that's not the neighborhood that I left.
Wow.
And the biggest challenge for me that I haven't learned how to deal with yet, I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional.
No, it's okay.
Is my mom is my biggest supporter. And she stopped visiting me in 2017 because the driving was becoming too hard for her. She was getting older. I would call her every day, and she remembers me. My sister say, "Oh, she's getting onset of dementia," but our conversations were good. You know, it's up until the day I got home, and when I arrived at home, she comes around the corner of the car, And I'm like, hi, Mom. I give her a hug and the flowers that I had. And my dad comes out and I give him a hug and she goes, oh, you know my husband, Felix? And I was like, yeah, it's my dad. And then she's like, Felix, this is my nephew. And I was like, Mom, I'm your son. And she's like, oh, I know. And so during the day, we were eating dinner and she just keeps on looking at me and like, does your mom know you're here? Where's your family at? And it was heartbreaking. So I get on the phone and I call her. I go to the other room and I call her. And she's like, oh, mijo, your nephew's here, or your cousin's here. I want you to talk to him. And I was like, Mom, it's me. I'm just using the phone in the other room. I'm the one sitting next to you. And she's like, oh, okay. And it's heartbreaking.
Why is my car? I was doing like this looking for my key.
I was looking for.
Well, one of the things I want to share with you in that regard, I have a friend whose grandmother began with the early onset of dementia. And one of the things, and I tell you, it was so heartbreaking for her because her grandmother, just for a brief second, didn't remember who she was. And it just really destroyed her. And I said to her, I said, listen, I said, if your mom had diabetes, if your grandmother had diabetes and her blood sugar rose, you wouldn't think that she didn't love you or care for you or whatever. Her disease just causes her to not remember who you are. Yeah. So when she heard you on the phone, she could connect the two. The beauty, I want to give you the silver lining, is that she's still alive.
Yeah.
That you got to hug her, that you got to tell her that you love her, that you got to sit next to her, to break bread with her, because I know so many people who didn't get that opportunity. And so while it is heartbreaking, and I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like because I've never lived that, but I will say, while it's heartbreaking, the silver lining is that she's still alive, and you get to hug her, and you get to go see her, and you get to spend time with your family, because people have done a long period of time, a lot of time. In a lot of instances, there's nobody left. This gentleman did 38, and both of his parents were gone when he came home. So, and I know multiple people, I've met them through the years, where their families were gone or their families didn't want anything to do with them. People who get long prison sentences, a lot of times people write them off. I know a guy, his family starts stealing everything he had because they figured he wasn't coming home again. He had a something to life, and they figured, well, he's never coming home, and they take their stuff and disperse it. And I mean, even people doing short term lose a lot of stuff. When you go to jail, people don't take care of your stuff the way you would take care of it. Come home, all your stuff is gone. Where's my stuff? And you could be gone 6 months.
Oh man, that was your stuff?
And right, and they act like they never knew that it was your stuff. Right? It's a cold game. Look, my ex, his mom told him that she didn't know what happened to his jewelry. Fast forward a year or so later, we're all together taking family pictures, and her husband walks in with his jewelry on. We in the church. And I knew him well enough to know something is very wrong, because everything about him just changed. His eyes glazed over. And I was like, what's going on? And he told me, he got on my jewelry. My mother told me she didn't know what happened to it. Why is her husband wearing my jewelry? And we in the church, we supposed to all be getting together to take a family picture. And he is like, he's shaking mad. Okay. So I'm just saying, the fact that your sisters are there for you is a wonderful thing. The fact that the silver lining is that you get to be around your mom, but people need to realize going to jail and prison, people lose a lot. They lose a lot because nobody is going to care for your things the way that you care for your things. Nobody's going to take care of your stuff. Nobody's going to be responsible for your things the way that you're going to be responsible for those things.
Unless they.
And so, and he says, unless they could sell it. Well, yeah, that again, that ain't taking care of it like you would, right? That's giving it to somebody else. So again, and I want you, another thing too, Felix, I want to say is, it is emotional. And whatever you do, don't try to squash that emotion. Don't try to stuff it, because let it out. Let it go. L-I-G it. Because let me tell you something, baby. If you try to hold it in, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt everybody else. Okay? That is not healthy. Let that go. The one thing I hope that, you know, people learned in the institutions and taking some of them self-help groups, men cry too. Yeah. Y'all hurt. Y'all hurt, it's okay. Y'all hurt, y'all have pain, y'all got feelings, y'all got emotions, and all of them need to be addressed like everybody else, and it don't make you weak, okay, to have feelings and emotions and none of that stuff. No, you still a man. You still a man, okay? And I get really irritated at that concept, but it is the way we've been socialized in America is to believe that it's weak. Boys don't cry. No, yes, the hell they do. And if they don't, they should. If they don't, they should. Because guess what? Their feelings get hurt too, right? You guys are human beings. You're not robots and model, you know. The peanut gallery.
It ain't a peanut gallery.
Listen here. Let me tell you something. I suffer with these.
It's not a peanut gallery.
Oh no, you definitely the peanut gallery.
You know, I went to a school one time.
One time?
No.
They let you in?
Yeah.
He went to school one time. They actually let him in. We gotta hear this story.
Yeah. So I'm in a ranch, a foster ranch. I go into this class, I go in the back room, I keep my mouth shut. Teacher's yelling at the class, and at the end of it, he says, y'all don't want to be dumb like this new kid. Now I go up. This is in the country, so I kind of go up in the hills. I cry. You know, I'm only like 13, 14, something like that. But when I was done crying, I got me a rock about that big. And I come back and I try to bash that teacher's head in. So they locked up the whole school, and then I seen these two guys in suits. And I knew exactly who they were.
Who were they?
The police. And they sent me back to LA Juvenile Home. You know what I mean?
Oh, so you were in the camp, and they was gonna try to, well.
No, but the guy didn't have to do that.
No. And listen, there are a lot of people who are, for their own reasons and their own trauma, traumatize other people. And so they're all out there. Somebody said on this before that a lot of people, you guys, when you were in prison, you guys did the groups, but a lot of people didn't do groups on the outside to help them self-help and improve and figure out who they are. So because of that, they don't have the benefit of identifying their own nonsense and their own mess and trying to clean that up so that they can be better to be around other people. So we can't expect that everybody's going to be as conscious of themselves and their behavior and how it fits in as you are. But one of the things I want to do is I want to go around, and I'm going to start in the room here, and I'm going to ask for any last comments on the topic and anything. This is usually, for me, my favorite part of the evening, because this is where those people who typically don't talk a lot, they actually come out with the most profound things. And I learned so much in what is called our check out. So we check in, we talk about our topic, and then we check out. And those are the only two times that I ask people to have anything to say. And I love it because these are the times when I get the most profound things from people who don't talk all the time. So Ms. Dye, I'm gonna ask you to get in the chair and come up here real quick. And come over here and talk to me about the topic. Any comments you have?
The only comment I do have, like I said earlier, just don't take it personal, because you're gonna have setbacks. So just don't take it personal. Just keep on moving. Don't take it personal. Don't hold yourself that down, because it's gonna be problems in your way no matter what happens. You know what I'm saying? But you still gotta keep pushing forward.
Thank you.
Welcome home, baby.
Sir?
short and sweet. You just came home. Don't put your status bar too high to where you can't achieve it. Small goals, big accomplishments. All them little goals, as they add up, are gonna turn into big accomplishments for you. Don't be hard on yourself. Take your time and listen. Pay attention. And remember, like respect in prison, people out here don't have respect. They don't go to group like we've been a group. They ain't worked on themselves like we worked on ourselves. So always remember that just because they come up and bump you, they haven't been through the things we've been through to get rid of some of the bull crap that we've been holding on to since we was kids. So remember that they don't have to respect you because they haven't understood what respect is.
Thank
But
you.
I welcome you brothers home. And please go to the beach and enjoy the water. I just put my feet in without no shoes or socks for the first time, and I've been out 2 years. I got to do one more thing, and I'm still scared. Well, I'm going to do two things. This Thursday, I'm getting on my first plane ride. And when I come back, I'm actually taking my socks off and walk my feet through some grass, free grass. I haven't done it yet.
Totally
so I still
awesome.
got little accomplishments I got to achieve.
That's wonderful. Thoughts, comments?
So for me, I use my friends and family. I tend to hold stuff, so I suggest you don't hold nothing, and use your sounding board. Everybody is a supporter, whether it be family or the people here or the people in the Francisco home. You have to get it out.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. And for you, sir.
I hope you get a job because as long as you're paying taxes, I get a check.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, there's always that. That's why I'm so glad when y'all get them jobs too, because I always need a loan. And I'm gonna go ahead. And Mr. Terrell, can you give us your final thoughts?
Wow, a pipe is the best. Oh my God.
He consistent though, isn't he?
Man, you never know what you're gonna get. Never know. That's why he's consistent, because you never know what you're gonna get. But I just want to say congratulations to you guys for coming home. You know, take it slow. And thank you guys for sharing, you know, how y'all feel what you're going through. This is a support network. We here every Tuesday. And we here every day. We just on here Tuesday, but we're here every day. Like that. No mistake about that. So, you know, utilize us and just take it, just be patient, you know, suck that air in. But like everybody else said, pay attention, you know what I'm saying, to what's going on, because people out here, they have no understanding of who you are, what you've been through, none of that. And a lot of them are walking out in blackout mode. So, and they got pistols in their pocket and bangers in their coats and will kill you. So just use your prison instincts and intuition and take your time, fill out the process. People got to fill you out too. So just like you're examining everybody else, everybody's examining you as well. So just don't take it personal. Please don't. Because just like you don't know them, they don't know you. This is all new for them. This is all a new challenge for everybody that's involved. So do not be worried about that aspect of it. So just like you don't know them, they don't know you.
And that goes for family members too. That goes for family and friends.
I was gonna say, even if it's your family, you know, because you don't know them. You know what I'm saying? That's your blood, but you don't know them. So, but take your time and be patient and be confident, you know, and just keep your awareness going and you'll be good. And, you know, stay around some positive people and take baby steps.
Yeah.
Get the things you need to do, the short-term goals, accomplish your ID, stuff like that, your driver's license, and, you know, get to know yourself out here, you know, and be self first, but not selfish. Because there's a lot of people out here on the street that just take. You know what I mean? That's their mentality. And they have no understanding, like I said, for what you've been through and who you are. So do not take it personal. Let it go over your head sometimes. Just protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you know, because that's how it is out here. And it's a lot of stuff, but
Thank
at the
you.
end of the day, just be patient. Be
Thank you,
patient.
Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
Final comments.
Oh, yeah, well, Terrell said everything I wanted to say and more. So you listen to what he said, you be straight, you be good, because he
Awesome.
said it all. Thank
That's
you.
wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Terry.
Yeah, Noreen, it's, everybody should take their time, go slow at everything, be aware of your surroundings. And when you need help, you got a counselor, your Francisco home, and you got good friends and people who are trustworthy, who are good people who are in the Francisco home. Just don't be afraid to ask for help, but to be aware of your surroundings all the time, because sometimes you see somebody drinking and you think that's what you need, but turn it down, because it'll just lead you right back into trouble. Right back.
Thank you.
And
you know, something you said is so, so vital, and that is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, indeed.
Whatever you do not be afraid to ask for help. If there are things you don't know, no matter who knows it, there was a day they didn't know it either. Okay,
Yeah.
so all you got to do is ask for help. You do yourself more harm by not asking for help and stumbling and making mistakes you don't have to, because your pride was too big for you to be willing to go and ask for help. So thank you for sharing that, Otis, because that's really, really, really important. I want to go ahead and Mr. Hall.
Mr.
Hall, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, how you doing?
All right.
Now, what you want? What was the question?
So the question is your final thoughts on the topic about coping, and any last comments or things you want to share?
Oh yeah, for me, the way I cope, I basically do a lot of praying. I give it to God, so that's basically what I do.
You can't go wrong there, sweetie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Oscar. Oscar, can you unmute and then unmute Oscar?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Any last comments for you?
No, my last comment is I like when you tell Mr. Felix, don't hold emotion, because men can cry. I used to be a strong person. When I was in prison, I always think I can do myself. But little by little, when I started to take group, I started to show my feelings, my emotion. Now, everything made me cry. But I'm glad I talked to you. Thank you for your advice.
But you know, one thing I notice about you is you always got a smile on your face. Whenever you talk to us on Tuesday nights, you always got a smile on your face. Maybe letting go of all that, going ahead and having that cry frees you up to go ahead and be happy, because you always got a beautiful smile. And so that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. Can you unmute and give us any of your comments? Good night, sweetie. Love you.
One thing I wanted to say is
we waiting on you, Noreen.
Oh, shoot.
I want to say we waiting on you, Noreen.
Hey, girl.
We waiting on you.
I'll see y'all in the morning.
Okay.
But it was when you were saying how people lose when they go to prison. They lose somebody and something else happens, but the kids grow up. That's a thing too.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's right, huh? Your children grow up, the time moves on, and you don't get to, yeah, wow.
And then the other thing is that the loss, we need to talk about that one day.
Okay.
The loss.
Yes,
because you lose a lot. That's what they gave away my stuff too. And I told them, they act like I had died already or something. But okay.
All
That's
right,
it.
thank you.
All right.
And so I'm gonna ask you guys, Rufus and Chester, if you can unmute and both of you guys give me your last thoughts about the topic. There you go.
Yeah, I think the topic was great. And with me, like you said, how I cope with the situation is, like you said, ask for help. I'm learning patience. I have self-awareness. And I talk about what's bothering me. That's how I cope with a lot of my situations. So that's what works for me.
That's awesome. Mr. Rufus?
Can you hear me from over
I
here?
sure can.
Okay, it's two things. One that I like, I mean, three things. One is Terrell. He said it all. Two, ask for help. That was the whole time we was talking. That was my go-to thing. Is don't be afraid to ask for help. Because if I don't know, the opinions that other people give me ideas.
Yeah.
And the last one is that what you said as far as the people, sometimes I don't want to say you got to think for other people, but they don't know what you've been through. You know what I mean? And they haven't worked on themselves, so it's about being self-aware and knowing that, and giving that that lead way for that. You know what I mean? And don't take
give them a little bit of mercy.
Yeah.
Give them
Right.
cut them a break that they don't know.
Exactly. That part.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
And Chester, so in general, how'd you enjoy the group? Is it something you would want to come back and talk to us again?
Most definitely, because I can learn a lot. Most definitely. I
Awesome.
enjoyed the group.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Felix, last but not least, let me have you to unmute.
where
I'm going
do
to
I go?
click
I'm
for you
here.
to unmute. Can you click it to, there you go.
I just appreciate everybody. It's real. I don't want to say it's back in prison setting, but I feel at home with you guys. Just when I get scared and when I'm struggling, like you said earlier, I enjoy the freedom, but you want to go back to your comfort zone, prison, and facilitating groups and with my Sally and my friends. And they're the ones that I miss the most right now. I got my family out here. It's like now it's reversed. When I was in prison, I missed my family. Now I have them, and I miss everybody that I left behind. And with having restrictions, you can't talk to them. It's hard to get used to. Somebody that my friend that I left after knowing 15 years, like now you can't talk to them no more, and it's a hard adjustment. Like my sister said, the best advice she gave me was, just think it as a train. Our lives kept on moving, and you're just jumping in.
And that's so important, because Cheryl says it all the time, is that life kept going for people while it stopped for you. It kept moving. But what I want to encourage you is that we really have developed into a little family. So you got some more folks, and the good thing about this group is you got a lot of folks that know what you went through. They understand where you are, and it's a blessing to have you. And I hope that you would come back and be with us again. And for anybody out there listening that may see this, know this, that you're going to have to find something that helps you to cope with the challenges that you face, whether you've been incarcerated or not. You have to figure out what your trauma is, what things have happened to you that cause you to respond in a way that is not what normal people would, what they would call normal, and understand what those things are, and understand that if somebody does something, it doesn't mean that it's personal to you or they hate you or whatever. A lot of times it's just that they don't understand, and to give them that grace and mercy that Rufus talked about is huge, because it'll also take the sting out of things. I saw something, if you have a calling on your life and people don't understand, don't worry about it, because it wasn't a conference call. It was only what you're supposed to do, right? It was just between you and your God. So you worry about what you're supposed to do for you. People will not understand your walk because they haven't lived your life. They didn't do all the time that you guys did. They didn't do all of those things. They haven't experienced the things that you experienced, the loss that you've experienced. So give yourself some grace and mercy, be patient, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week here on Free to Heal. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of that. And we'll see you guys next week, okay? Have a good one. And again, welcome home, guys.